with GVLsoccer.com and YTSS The Podcast. It is Chris Ashley. Chris, as always, glad to have you back for the anchor leg for Triumph Weekly.
Always happy to be here, John.
See, now I was waiting for it to just start storming right in about my wardrobe choices and my show behavior. So go ahead. Go ahead and lay it out there for me.
Listen, you're a man of your word. You, after some public shaming last week, you honored your promise. You wore the Triumph gear on a game day where we ultimately got the win, and that's all I care about. So I'm a happy man.
All right, so let's talk about game day. It was a Friday nighter in Statesboro, and this is one of the fun rivalries of USL League One, and it's another go-round with Tormenta. It was a 2-0 lead, 2-1 final. You kind of had to hang on for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the goal they give up late in the second half there to Tormenta, just to kind of put a little bit of hold your breath there at the end. It was a good goal from Tormenta, but at the same time, it was a game where if you watched, it felt like Greenville really dominated that match and didn't feel like it was much in question. Even giving up the goal, I wasn't even concerned about that at the moment. Obviously, you always like to keep a clean sheet and love to pad that goal differential, but 3 points is 3 points, and when it's on the road against a rival, that's a good thing, especially as things seem to be heating up a little bit in the table there.
Yeah, and at the same time, your guy, your favorite dude, 13th minute, go ahead and lay it out for Lachlan McLean.
Yeah. So, well, and really the two guys I've been the happiest with this year. We got a new nickname for him, calling him Eminem, Morrell, and McLean. Listen, they paired up. That's a nice pairing. That seemed to really have some connection on Friday night. It was interesting when the lineup came out and seeing Jake on the bench and not starting. I was a little bit of okay, well, this is interesting. Let's see how this goes. And man, not to say you don't want Jake out there, you don't need Jake out there, but I give it to Coach Harks for always trying to mix things up, trying to figure out which combinations work best. And I think we've talked about this all year. There's really not a quote unquote best 11 on this team. There's a lot of talent and some depth here that maybe we didn't have last year. And so it's good to see when you mix things up and those things start to work and you're seeing connections between guys really click. And this is the time for that to happen as we go down towards the back stretch of the season.
So you go Eminem for the first goal and then Eminem for the second goal.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it was both of them with a goal and an assist. Both make team of the week. Alex Morrell gets player of the week over Lachlan, and I don't know what the metric there was for the league.
You did not have a vote in this process?
Well, no. If I had a vote, Lachlan would have been the player of the week. Alex has already had it. He was player of the month. He can rest on his laurels. Let's spread the love around a little bit.
Then Jad Arslan gets the goal, I want to say, with 10 minutes to go, and that kind of made things interesting. But, 2-1 final, and you mentioned how things are at the top of the table, and it seems like everyone is still looking at that team out of Omaha, or Omadraw. Sorry, it took me a second to remember it, but Omadraw is still hanging in there right now, obviously with the League One standings being what they are, but they have 2 matches in hand, and they're behind by 4 points. But then everything has kind of compressed again. Richmond is undefeated in their last 5. They're at 14 points. Red Wolves, who have added Patrick Okonkwo, they have 1 match in hand over Greenville. They're at 12. Forward Madison's at 11. Tormenta's at 9. And then everybody else the gaggle begins anew. But Omadraw is still hanging in there, but they've got 2 matches in hand.
They've got 2 matches in hand, but, if you look at their schedule, the thing that doesn't give me a ton of concern at the moment is they have played really some of the not exclusively, but they've played a lot of the lesser teams in the league this season up to this point. They're going to have a little bit of schedule compression on the back end because of those games in hand. Greenville kind of took those licks early and managed to get out of it with a lot of points. And I think that's going to benefit them down the road as they get to kind of rest a little bit more. But again, Omaha still has to play. They got to come on the road to Greenville. They got to play Richmond. They got to play some of these other teams that are at the top of the table are going to be contending to knock them out of that final spot. So, listen, I wouldn't at all be surprised for them to make the final in their first year. They have been very impressive, but I think you've got two coaches in John Harkes and Darren Sawatsky up in Richmond they're hungry, and they both really want to get there too. And it'd be great to have a rubber match for the Bon Secours Cup in the final. That would be I think that'd be my ideal matchup at this point. But hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing Omaha there and seeing what their excited fan base would bring to a final in year one.
And at the same time, coming up around the corner, it's 8 days worth of rest, which I think is also really good this time of year as you're getting past the halfway point. And it is a no Mingo zone at Legacy early for a 3:00 start on the 13th.
Yeah, the rare Sunday afternoon game. I think at the beginning of the year, just talking to Doug Irwin and Chris Lewis, a lot of the games last year, I think almost exclusively, it was all Saturday night at 7:00, and then once we got to college football season, it was Friday night at 7:00. And I think this year they wanted to offer up some opportunities for families with kids to be able to come out early, especially young kids like mine. My daughter can't stay up till 7:00. So having a 3:00 game is kind of a good opportunity for some of these younger kids to get out and see it. Now, granted, it's going to be warm, maybe. Mm-hmm. And, they had a lot more of these on the schedule initially. And then with COVID, they've kind of reshuffled everything, but still tried to get some of these matches in here. But again, Forward Madison coming in. Listen, they're undefeated in their last 4. They got off to a slow start. They lost 2 of their first 3 and then drew against Greenville. And then they have won 3 of the last 4 and had a draw. So they're kind of on a hot streak here. The cool thing to remember about Greenville and Madison, though, there's only been 1 non-draw in this matchup in its history. And that was a 1-0 victory last year up in Madison. But everything else, these teams are always just scrappy and evenly matched. The only good thing you can have to look forward to about this match on Sunday is that it won't be played on that awful, awful field up in Wisconsin.
With the Quidditch lines and every sport known to mankind that you can sit there and say, okay, so if it's the blue line, that's what I need to focus on for my boundaries when it comes to things for Forward Madison this year. What has it been like to see fans back in at Legacy early? What has it been like from a personal responsibility perspective and making sure that everything goes off as well as it can?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are happy to be able to get out and do something. At this point, I think you're seeing that a lot more throughout society, but even especially to get out to a sporting event is a big deal for folks. It seems like most people are taking the precautions seriously in terms of the social distancing, the mask wearing, all the things that are being mandated. But there are certainly chunks of fans that just don't feel comfortable coming quite yet, and that's completely understandable. And so, there's been a lot of virtual watch parties, following along on Twitter. Especially for away matches, I try to keep the podcast Twitter feed active and throw my shots where I need to throw my shots and make my jokes and keep everybody up to date and throw all of my Lachlan McLean love in there as much as I can as well. But I mean, it's been a good experience, and I think it's good for the players, honestly. These players, especially at a third division team, they're out here living their dreams, but at the same time, I do think and this is something that Coach Harkes drives into them, they are playing for this community. They are playing for this town, for this fan base. And you do get to know these guys on a personal level to some extent. And so I think it means a lot for them to have fans in the stands, and they're grateful to be able to do that and it not feel like they're just, they're just out at the training pitch.
What's the energy been like in the building with fans there?
It's been good. Obviously it would be, ideally it would be packed out and we'd have as many fans in there as we can. But I think the fans that are coming are committed to making it a raucous atmosphere and to try and, give the ref a little shove when he needs a little shove, give the players a little boost when they need a little boost. So, it's been good. It's been good.
All right. What's going on at GVL Soccer and YTSS?
Yeah, well, not much right at the moment. My computer just laid down and died on me this week, so I've got no access. I'm in the process of getting a new one, but for now we're on pause. But just keep a lookout at YTSS Podcast on Twitter. Yeah, that soccer show on all your podcatchers. GVLsoccer.com is the website for all the written work.
As always, our anchor leg here for Greenville Triumph Weekly, Chris Ashley, GVL Soccer Guy, GVLsoccer.com, YTSS The Podcast, everything that we need to know from the cover and perspective of USL League One's Greenville Triumph. As always, Chris, thanks for hanging out for the anchor leg. We'll catch you up next week.
Sounds great, John. Thank you.